Hey, when I was a teenager some 30 years ago, I was listening to music mostly from the US and the UK. So, alternative rock and electronic music like trip hop and IDM were pretty much the toast of the day. So, back then, Western popular music was the epitome of cool, with rock bands such as Sonic Youth and Nirvana, and electronic acts such as Portishead and Apex Twins leading the charge. As I grew older, my love with Western music waned a little, mostly because as an old man shouting at the crowds, I realized that while newer bands are generally competent and probably exciting to the youths, they are really doing nothing much for me. So that's when my attention turned to regional bands, an area which I have largely ignored in my younger days. And the region I live in is in Asia, where there are tons of exciting stuff. So, whether it be lyrics that are more sublime, or the use of traditional instruments that will never be found in Western rock compositions, or exploration of themes about modern day oppression, the music scene in Asia is quite varied and genuinely exciting. So, however, one thing that Asian bands are lacking in is its accessibilities and renown beyond their own shores. So it becomes harder for foreigners to learn more about band in questions unless they are well versed in the local language. So this series of video is meant to document Asian bands in everybody's favorite language, English. It's also served as a gateway to start your exploration into this part of the world. And the first band we will be exploring is Taiwan's No Party For Cao Dong. No Party For Cao Dong is a Taiwanese indie band formed in 2012 by four friends in the Taipei University of the Arts. Originally named Party at Cao Dong Street after the strip of the same name in the Siling district in Taipei. The band renamed themselves No Party For Cao Dong, probably in a tongue-in-cheek moment after some of the original members left. So by the time the band released their debut album The Survival in 2016, the band lineup had stabilized to include vocalist and lead guitarist Wood Lim, rhythm guitarist Judy Cheng, bassist Sam Young, and drummer Fan Chai. Often described as a post-rock or grunge band, and to some extent they do have elements of both. I feel that No Party For Cao Dong can be more accurately described as a post-hardcore band, as they share more similarities with bands like Japan's Envy or USA's Twice. So the band had won many Golden Melody Awards in Taiwan, including Best Musical Group and Best New Artist, as well as play in international music festivals such as South by Southwest and its Canadian equivalent, North by Northeast. One of the key highlights of Cao Dong's music is that their lyrics are often modern and conversational, yet the songs are effortlessly poetic. You don't need a degree in Chinese literature to be able to understand the lyrics and pass the deeper meaning. This is most evident on their debut album The Survival, released in 2016. On the song Simon Says, the band used the game of the same name as a critique of mindless trend following, a trait of modern day social media, all set to the soft loud dynamics of 90s grunge. Another popular song on the album is Wayfarer. While a little bit more abstract, the song is slightly about the failure to fulfill childhood dreams and aspirations, as the protagonist metaphorically disappear into the mountains and the sea. Seeing that the protagonist is being pulled in different direction, it could also be about the modern struggles each young adult has to experience as he or she gave up their childhood dreams for a more pragmatic future. 他明白，我给不起。 On a similar trajectory, Greenpeace is about the resignation of having good intentions to create art, but being hammered by an uncaring society until one becomes a useless puddle of mud. Because everything you seek to achieve have already been said and done by others who came before. So beyond the debut, the band also contributed a track to the soundtrack of Devotion, the red kinda PC game that was infamously pulled by Steam due to complaints by Chinese players who were offended by a game artifact that alluded the President Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. So the track is an excellent example of why the band is often categorized as a post-rock, as it started with tender illuminations and ended with a cacophony of atmospheric guitars. Tragedy struck the band in 2021 when the band's drummers Fan Chai passed away during her stay in a quarantine hotel in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, the band sojourned as original drummer Huang Siwei returned to the fold. In 2023, the band released their sophomore album, The Cloud, which contained highlights such as the swinging pool, and the very cathartic Damn. So if you are new to the band, should you check them out? So here are some points of reference. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Cao Dong's influences are largely an amalgam of post-hardcore, emo and post-rock acts. So if you enjoy the post-hardcore experimentation of bands such as Twice or the Appleseed Cast, you will find similar thrills in many of Cao Dong's compositions. Similarly, if you enjoy the emotional vocals and guitar antics of a band like MV, or the dance instrumental atmospherics of Mono, I believe you will find a sonic template here that will be highly palatable to you as well. Of course, the soft loud dynamics of many grunge bands can also be found within Cao Dong's repertoire. A lot of Asian bands don't stick around for long, likely due to the pragmatic nature of Asian parents who want their kids to get proper jobs if they fail to secure a steady income stream in the short term. Failure to do so is not just an issue of financial viability. It also brings disgrace to the family name, I kid you not. So with that said, I do think that no Party for Cao Dong will stick around for a while. Although when they will release their next album is probably up in the air. In any case, if you do like to check out their music, I have compiled a playlist of some of their best songs in the link in the description box. So once again, thank you for listening.